Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today I want to show you my perspective on the Elder Scrolls Online Endgame and what it has to offer for you. I know that Elsweyr is right around the corner, however I do want to cover all aspects of the game, not just that specific chapter that will go live very soon. Now you might ask yourself, why is that still relevant? In this game everything scales, so content that has been released 3 years ago is still relevant today and very difficult to clear. Today I want to give you an example of all the things like trials, an arena, DLC dungeons, Cyrodiil, battlegrounds, the outfit system or even housing. For me, Endgame starts when you do veteran content. There is no specific line on when that exactly happens, but usually you will kinda realize or notice when it starts to get more difficult. Things like overland content, story, that's not Endgame for me. That's progressing through the main storyline, exploring and so on. That's still all normal content. Most veteran content has to be done in a group. I know it is a lot to ask to group up and talk to other human beings in 2019, but after all, it is a MMO. Let's start with dungeons. There is a lot of veteran dungeons. The base game ones being a little bit easier, whereas the DLC dungeons are quite difficult to actually crack, especially the hard modes. This is my favorite dungeon called Scalecaller Peak. It was released with the Dragon Bones DLC. Here we are trying to clear hard mode. In this hard mode specifically, you have to make sure to avoid a lot of the AoE attacks on the ground. Do not stand too close to the boss. There's a lot of movement involved. You need to swap targets if there is ads that pop up. You need to make sure that you keep up your rotation, which a lot of new players have problems with, because if you don't have a good rotation, your group will lose so much DPS, and then there is also some burn phases. If you don't have enough DPS, the group will wipe. Healers also need to make sure to be positioned correctly to apply buffs to the group to heal them, and the tank needs to make sure to keep the boss somewhere where everybody can attack him, make sure that all debuffs are applied and so on. The veteran content is way more difficult than the normal content, so if you have already cleared a dungeon on normal mode, that doesn't compare in anything whatsoever to a veteran dungeon, or even so to a veteran dungeon hard mode. Before we continue, I want to talk about character progression. Your first big milestone is 160 champion points, because that is where the gear is kept. It does not go higher, and the devs have not increased that value in forever, because it doesn't make any sense, because everything scales, right? So items that I have created 3 years ago are still viable today. They might not be the best of the best, but I can still use it and clear 90% of the content. Next up, we have 300 champion points, because that is where you will stop gaining extra resources from champion points. Also fairly easy to reach, and then we go up to 500 and 810, where it gets slower and slower. The reason why that is important is because the champion system increases the power of your character. The blue tree is here for increased damage, then the green tree more sustain, and the red tree is more damage mitigation in general. So it's a very interesting and complex system. Next up, we do have arenas that you need to conquer with a group of 4. You might ask yourself, what's the difference between a dungeon and the arena? Arenas have a stage system, so you need to progress through stage 1 to stage 5 or stage 1 to stage 10. And they do have leaderboards, so you can compete against other teams. You want to be faster than the other team, you want to have less deaths, because all that stuff impacts your total score at the end of the arena. The arena also has a normal and a veteran version. Both, when you manage to complete them, will give you some special gear like Black Rose weapons or master weapons, for example. However, if you manage to clear it on veteran mode, your weapons will be slightly stronger compared to the normal mode. And now the one thing no player should miss out on, the all famous Maelstrom Arena. This is the toughest solo veteran content that you will get in this game. You again progress through 9 different stages up till the end boss, and there is some really juicy loot at the end. There is once again leaderboards if you want to compete against other players. One more thing, you will die a lot in the veteran Maelstrom Arena, that's just how it is. Please do not punch your computer display or the keyboard. It is not their fault that you have a hard time progressing through that arena. Next up we do have trials. These are 12-man raids and there is full and mini trials. In the full trials you usually have several bosses and you really need to progress through an area. There's trash packs and all that stuff you're used to in other MMOs. Again, there is normal, veteran, and if you want to choose, you can choose hard mode at the last boss if you really want it even more difficult. Mini trials are a little bit different. You can decide on your own how you want to scale the difficulty. There is not really any trash packs, but usually there is side bosses on the left and right side. And either you can go directly to the main boss and fight the main boss together with the side bosses, or you can first go kill the side bosses and then kill the main boss alone. Obviously, if you fight everything together, you will get better rewards and a higher leaderboard score. Trials are my personal favorite because you can push yourself, coordinate with your group, get higher scores to compete against other guilds and see who comes out on top at the end of a patch. Let's not forget about PvP, the land of salt. There is Cyrodiil, which is about huge battles where you fight hordes of enemies. In Cyrodiil you want to fight with your faction against enemies. You want to crown your emperor, to succeed, to win. Now Cyrodiil is very unforgiving. If you play alone or you have like a small 4-man group and there are 24 enemies running towards you, it might be wise to turn around. Otherwise this might have been your last day. Don't worry, you can respawn at the keep, which is owned by your faction, and you're good to go. PvP in this game has a high skill cap, so it will take a long time to get used to it. Cyrodiil doesn't really differentiate whether you're a new player or you're a player that have been playing for 4 years. If you clash, you clash. Whereas in Battlegrounds there is actually an MMR system that tries to match you up against enemies that have a similar ranking, that if you're new to the game, tries to match you up against enemies that are also new. Battlegrounds also has a few different game modes, but usually people prefer to play deathmatch because you want to kill stuff, right? Another very distinctive feature in Battlegrounds is that you actually have 3 teams. So it's a 4 versus 4 versus 4 that fight against each other and not just 2 teams. In the Battlegrounds, champion points are deactivated, so you really only need 160 champion points to reach the gear cap, so you can have the max level gear. But you don't really need to worry about going higher. There is also a non-champion point Cyrodiil campaign where the champion points are deactivated. So these campaigns or Battlegrounds in general make it way more beginner friendly because you don't have to grind all those champion points. Before we continue, please make sure to subscribe and hit the juicy like button. I appreciate it a lot. And let me know in the comment section below your opinion about what Elder Scrolls Online's Endgame is like. I also want to mention the outfit and the housing system, which are an essential part of the Elder Scrolls Online experience. No character really looks the same because you have so much possibilities. I personally like to farm skins and the Dromatra skin is my favorite one. There is other things like Meridian Purified, Sable Manbeast skin and all that stuff. There's so many. There's also different personalities which alter emotes and alter your stance. There is a complete outfit system where you can change so many parts of your armor, shoulder, chest, hands and so on. And I think at the moment there's like 70 motifs or even more. You have plenty to do if you want to collect them all. This is my home. And as you can see, it is full of trophies that I farm from dungeons. So whenever you clear a dungeon, you get the trophy from a certain boss that you afterwards can place in your home to make it look pretty sick. Now obviously this is just one of the rooms. There is players with beautiful houses that they have invested a lot of time in, as you can see here in this house. If you want, you can create a maze in your home so your community can try to beat it. And whoever beats it first gets a prize. That is it. This is my opinion on the Elder Scrolls Endgame. There is so much different things to do. You will not get bored. Trust me. If you have any questions about the game, you can always ask me during my live streams on twitch.tv/alcasthq or check out my website alcasthq.com, which really focuses on Elder Scrolls Online. Builds, guides, I have everything there, okay? Make sure to check it out. I will put the link into the description. Thanks for watching and have an amazing day. Cheers.